What's up everybody, I'm Gambit and today I want to make a quick video about chambering. A lot of you here and on my Twitch stream are asking me to show you how to get good at this because it's one of the more difficult moves to pull off, and so I want to show you guys how to do it and talk about the pros and cons of it and just kind of discuss when and why you should or shouldn't use it. If this video helps you out, be sure to give it a like and please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future. Also, I do stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from noon to 6 Eastern. Come stop by and hang out. You can get all my links in the description below. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What is chambering? It's similar to the ripost in that you will block an attack and quickly make a counterattack, but instead of hitting the parry button and then hitting the attack button to ripost, you merely hit the attack button at the right time and angle, and you will block your opponent's attack and counterattack automatically, and faster than you would have riposted. It sounds great, but it's more complicated to pull off, costs more than twice as much stamina, and it lights up with sparks and makes a loud noise before it occurs, which actually makes it a little easier to parry, even though it's faster than the ripost. Now this maybe makes it sound like chambering is worse than riposting, but actually the two abilities serve different functions, even if they seem similar. Imagine you're facing an opponent who feints and morphs way too much. If you parry too soon, your block will be on cooldown when the real attack comes, and now you're gonna get hit. If instead of parrying though, you start chambering your opponent's attack, then one of two things is going to happen as long as you've timed it right. Worst case scenario, you chamber your opponent's attack, effectively blocking, and maybe you hit them with your follow-up, but usually you won't. Best case scenario, and the main reason to use this ability in my opinion, is your feint-happy opponent feints this attack too, and now that you don't have an attack to chamber, your chamber just becomes an attack and hits your opponent for free. The other main thing chambering does is steal initiative from your opponent, forcing them to go on the defensive. Riposting does the same thing, but because chambering is faster, it tends to force them to parry, although they can try to chamber you right back, which can lead to weird situations. You can also throw it in randomly to mess with your own timings and keep your opponent off balance, but you never want to spam it repeatedly as it will drain your stamina in a hurry and is actually quite easy to deal with if you know it's coming. I'd also recommend you use it sparingly against shield users as you don't want to lose the stamina game against them. This makes chambering a very situational tool to use, but in the right hands against the right opponents, it can just wreck people. Chambering can also be feinted and morphed, which makes it a lot more versatile than riposting. Chambering is one of those skills you'll probably use the least while you're still learning the game, but once you start to get really good at all aspects of it, chambering becomes one of your most powerful abilities, especially when combined with other abilities like morphing and dragging. Okay, so hopefully you understand the pros and cons of it. Now let's just talk about how to actually do it. When your opponent attacks, you need to perform the same exact attack at the same angle right before the attack is supposed to hit you, and I mean right before. Keep in mind the angle is mirrored, so if they attack you from their right, that means you must chamber from your left. If they go high left, you must go high right, and so on. Stabbing doesn't require any mirrored angles, just the right timing, which is why stabs are the easiest attack to chamber. The timing is tough to get right, but basically you need to do it during the release phase of your opponent's attack. If you aren't familiar with that term, basically an attack goes through three phases. The wind-up, where they pull their weapon back and get ready to strike. The release, where they swing their weapon and the weapon will actually do the damage. And the recovery, where they are vulnerable and can't really do anything until the phase is done. If you try to chamber during your opponent's wind-up phase, you will simply attack them, but your attack will be slightly behind and you're gonna get hit. So you need to wait until they're actually swinging. A good indicator for this is your opponent will grunt when he enters the release phase. You should always use the grunt to help time your chambers, as well as parries and any other defensive action you perform. Just keep in mind that advanced players are going to use drags and accels to mess with their swing timings, so you can't just memorize how long it takes to go from grunt to hit. You need to read your opponent to see exactly when you should time your defense, but the grunt can help a lot. There's a lot of moving parts to this, but there's a pretty neat way to get some good practice in. Open up a local match against 1 or 2 bots, and then hit F1 to open up your console and type in slow-mo 0.25. This will drop the in-game speed down to a quarter, giving you the opportunity to get really familiar with the timing of it. So practice with the bots and try to chamber just every single attack. Once you're comfortable doing this from every angle, bump it up to 50%. You'll probably struggle for a minute because you've gotten used to doing it at such a slow speed, but stick with it. Then bump it up to 75%, and then finally type in slow-mo 1 to reset it back to normal speed and practice like this. Then jump onto a duel server and fight against real players. They're not going to behave quite as predictably, so you probably won't get to chamber every single attack. That's probably for the best, since one-trick ponies are pretty easy to beat regardless of what they're doing. So mix it up, but focus on getting good at your chamber angles and timings. One thing I struggled with for a while was I would successfully chamber, but just out of reflex of hearing the clashing steel, I'd hit the parry button, which canceled my counterattack but still drained my stamina. Just keep practicing, and eventually it'll be like second nature to you. If you still struggle with chambering, try to keep some distance between you and your opponent, which will give you slightly more time to react to their attack, which can help. Now, this video is really just meant to handle the basics of chambering for beginners, but if you'd like to see me do an advanced guide in the future, leave me a comment below saying so. To give you a few ideas of the things that you should be practicing, though, try feinting your chambers to trick your opponent into parrying early. All the sparks and distinct sound effects associated with chambering tend to make a lot of people parry immediately when it starts. Like I said, when I was new, I would often parry out of my own chambers just because it's so dangerous looking. You can also morph your chambers and throw in some drags to really throw off your opponents. If you don't know what these terms mean, don't worry, I'll cover them in the next video in my beginner series. I hope this video helped you out. I'll be doing a bunch more videos soon, so if you did enjoy it, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to hang out with me on my Twitch stream, you can get all my links below. Until next time, guys.